The appearance of the first flame marked the end of the Age of Ancients, but the world did not transform overnight. The everlasting dragons still ruled from atop the arch trees, their stone scales protecting them from harm and preserving the ancient order that had endured for ages beyond memory. Yet beneath the surface of this seemingly eternal world, something had fundamentally changed. For hidden within the first flame were powerful souls, unlike any that had ever existed before. Drawn toward the newborn fire, 4 beings emerged from the darkness and claimed these great souls for themselves. History remembers them as Gwyn, the Witch of Izalith, Gravelord Naito, and the Furtive Pygmy. Who they were before this moment remains one of the oldest mysteries in Dark Souls. The ancient legends do not describe them as kings, rulers, or gods. They appear only as figures who found the flame and were forever changed by what they discovered within it. Gwyn claimed the Lord's soul of light and became the Lord of Sunlight. The power he obtained granted him mastery over lightning, a force that would soon prove capable of achieving what had once seemed impossible. More importantly, Gwyn possessed ambition and vision. Among the lords, he would become the architect of the new world that was about to emerge from the ashes of the old one. The Witch of Izalith discovered a soul tied closely to fire itself. Through its power, she learned to shape flames according to her will, and, alongside her daughters, laid the foundations for what would later become pyromancy. While Gwyn represented sunlight and order, Izalith embodied creation and transformation, wielding the very element that had introduced change into the universe. Nito, the first of the dead, claimed a soul unlike any other. Surrounded by miasma, disease, and countless skeletal remains, he became the embodiment of mortality itself. Before the arrival of the flame, death had no place in the world. Through Nito, death became part of the natural order, and with it came decay, illness, and the inevitable end awaiting all living things. Finally came the smallest and most easily forgotten of the 4 lords, the Furtive Pygmy. While the other lords found souls associated with light, fire, and death, the Pygmy discovered the Dark Soul. At the time, its significance may have appeared far less impressive than the powers wielded by the others. Yet this single discovery would ultimately shape the destiny of the entire world more profoundly than any other. For from the Dark Soul would come humanity itself. But before the age of men could begin, another age first had to end. Despite the emergence of the lords and the appearance of the flame, the everlasting dragons remained the undisputed rulers of existence. Their stone scales rendered them nearly invulnerable, and against such immortal beings, even the newly empowered lords could not hope to prevail through strength alone. The old world would not fall willingly. If the Age of Fire was to begin, the dragons would first have to lose the very thing that made them eternal. The answer came from an unexpected source. Among the dragons lived one unlike the others. His name was Seath. Born without the stone scales possessed by his kin, Seath existed as an anomaly among the everlasting dragons. Where the others embodied permanence and immortality, Seath understood vulnerability. He could age, he could be wounded, and unlike his brethren, he feared death. For reasons that remain debated even thousands of years later, Seath chose betrayal. Some believe jealousy drove him to turn against his own kind. Others argue that Seath understood what the arrival of the flame truly meant and simply chose the winning side before the inevitable collapse of the old world. Whatever his motivations, his actions would change history forever. Seath revealed the secret of the dragon's immortality: their scales. For countless ages, the stone scales had protected the dragons from harm, preserving them against time and death itself. Remove that protection, and even the mighty everlasting dragons could fall. Armed with this knowledge, the lords marched to war. The ancient opening legend of Dark Souls recounts the battle in only a few brief moments, yet its consequences shaped every era that followed. Gwyn hurled bolts of sunlight capable of peeling away the dragon's stone scales. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters unleashed devastating storms of fire. Nito spread death and disease among creatures that had never before known mortality. And Seath, the betrayer, turned against his own kind. Together, they accomplished the impossible. The Age of Ancients came to an end. The dragons that had ruled since before history were slaughtered, and the eternal gray world finally gave way to a reality defined by change. The significance of this victory extends far beyond the defeat of a single species. The war against the dragons represented the triumph of mortality over immortality, of change over stagnation, and of the future over eternity. The old world had been built upon permanence. The new world would be built upon cycles of growth and decline. In many ways, this conflict established the central theme that would define the entire Dark Souls trilogy. No age lasts forever. With the dragons defeated, Gwyn and his allies began constructing a new civilization upon the foundations of the old world. The Age of Fire had truly begun. At its heart stood Anor Londo, the city of the gods, a monument to Gwyn's victory, and the shining symbol of a new era. Beneath the rule of the lords, kingdoms flourished, civilizations emerged, and history finally began to move forward. Yet hidden beneath this golden age lay a truth that few were willing to acknowledge. The Age of Fire existed only because the first flame continued to burn. And just as every fire must one day exhaust its fuel, the first flame would eventually begin to fade. When that day came, Gwyn would face a choice that would alter the fate of the world forever. But that is a story for another age.